In the aftermath of a devastating courtroom loss, Willow Tate finds herself teetering on the edge of emotional collapse, her life unraveling in ways she never anticipated. What began as a hopeful, if risky, gamble on love and loyalty has instead ushered her into one of the darkest chapters of her life, one that may lead her not just into emotional exile, but potentially to a psychiatric institution. As Port Charles reels from the fallout of the contentious custody trial, those closest to Willow begin to question whether she is emotionally equipped to navigate the road ahead, or if she's already slipped too far into the shadows of grief and guilt. The courtroom was packed when Judge Eva Heron handed down her controversial ruling, granting Michael Corinthos full custody of both Wiley and Amelia. For Willow, the verdict wasn't merely a legal blow, it was the shattering of a role that had defined her very existence. Motherhood had not only anchored her through cancer, loss, and betrayal, but it had been the one constant amid a life plagued with uncertainty. The moment Heron's gavel fell, that anchor was ripped away, and with it, so was Willow's sense of self. The outburst that followed, raw, explosive, and public, was a signal to everyone watching that something inside Willow had fractured. Though some in the courtroom may have viewed her emotional eruption as temporary or understandable, the situation quickly escalated when Willow collapsed shortly afterward. Rushed to General Hospital, she was evaluated not just for physical exhaustion but for signs of severe emotional distress. It was Elizabeth Baldwin, a longtime nurse and friend, who quietly suggested what many already feared: Willow might be suffering a full psychological break. Her emotional volatility, combined with the intense stress and sense of betrayal she's endured, raised legitimate concerns about her mental stability. Discussions began behind closed doors about the need for long-term care, potentially even at a facility like Shadybrook. What has brought Willow to this critical juncture is not merely the loss of her children, but the accumulation of missteps and misplaced trust that preceded it. Her alliance with Drew Kane, forged in both romantic idealism and shared grievances against Michael, proved to be a gamble she couldn't afford. She chose to stand beside Drew even as his behavior grew increasingly erratic, ignoring warnings from family and friends. When Drew took actions that risked both legal and moral boundaries, Willow remained silent, convinced that their love, and their truth, would prevail. That decision would ultimately be her undoing. What Willow failed to recognize was how her commitment to Drew would be interpreted by the court, not as loyalty, but as poor judgment. The court saw a mother who prioritized her relationship over the safety and security of her children. And Michael, for all his flaws, presented the appearance of stability and predictability the judge needed to see. By the time the evidence was weighed and the decision made, Willow was left not only without her children, but with the burden of knowing she played a part in their departure. As Willow lies in her hospital bed, questions loom large over her future. Is her breakdown a temporary consequence of grief, or has she crossed a threshold into something more dangerous? Mental health professionals are now involved, and while counseling is the first line of care, a longer-term solution may be necessary. The name Shadybrook has already surfaced in hushed tones, a facility known for treating those who have spiraled into emotional crisis. But there is also the darker possibility of Ferncliff, should Willow's instability be judged a threat to herself or others. Her erratic behavior, her inability to maintain control, and the unpredictability of her next move have raised red flags among those who once stood firmly in her corner. While many in Port Charles express concern and sympathy, others are quietly assessing what Willow's unraveling might mean for their own agendas. Drew, now entangled in a bribery scandal that threatens to expose the very foundation of Michael's custody win, is nowhere to be found. Rumors swirl that he orchestrated a scheme to manipulate the court, bribing Judge Heron to rule in Michael's favor as part of a plan to keep both himself and Willow from facing criminal charges. If that's true, it recontextualizes the entire custody battle, casting Michael not as the rightful victor, but as the beneficiary of an underhanded deal. It also means Willow may have lost her children because of a man who was never truly acting in her best interests. Michael's role in all of this is now murky. When he visits Willow in the hospital, his words are laced with guilt and revelation. He confesses the truth: Drew paid off the judge. The custody was never fairly won. For Willow, this truth is as cruel as it is liberating. The system wasn't against her, it was manipulated. Her children were taken not by chance, but by design. And though she now has legal grounds to appeal, the emotional toll may already be irreversible. This confession from Michael is not without its consequences. It could destroy his public image, erode the fragile trust of those who stood by him, and expose Drew to prosecution. More importantly, it may reopen the door for Willow, legally and emotionally. But the question remains, will she be strong enough to walk through it? Or has the damage already been done? Even as hope flickers on the horizon, Willow remains suspended in a painful limbo. Her body may be healing, but her mind is adrift. The corridors of General Hospital echo with whispers of psychiatric evaluations, long-term care facilities, and recovery plans. Those closest to her speak of love and support, but even they wonder, has Willow reached a point of no return? The next steps will determine everything. Will she accept treatment and begin the difficult journey toward reclaiming her life? Will she hold Michael and Drew accountable for their betrayal? Or will her pain continue to define her, consuming whatever fragments of strength she has left? One thing is certain, Willow Tate is no longer the quiet, selfless young woman she once was. She has been tested, broken, and reshaped by betrayal and loss. What emerges from that crucible, whether it's a mother reborn or a soul irreparably scarred, will be the next chapter in a story that has only just begun.